orange fascists, suck my dick.
No, I don't think it was too much. I think that if people are criticizing the violence of the riots, then they're criticizing the wrong violence that's happening. I think violence is the violence that's happening against the American people right now.
Anyone with a Molotov cocktail should have been shot dead where he stands.
I don't believe that Donald Trump actually got shot. I think that was a ploy. I think if someone was going to hit their mark, they would have hit their mark.
I don't feel like a king. I have to go through hell to get stuff approved.
For Rebel News, and I'm currently in New York, Manhattan. Me and my colleague Efrain Mosento, we drove over here to assist to the No King protest. As you know, the No King protest is happening simultaneously across the country. But we wanted to be here in New York because of the riots that took place across the nation last week. And we wanted to be here to document not only that protest, but in case that there is uprising, in case that there is protest that is happening. So we will be here all day long, and I have multiple reports. You need to watch them. It's incredible what me and my colleague we were able to catch as interview. You can go to riotreports.com and you can chip in to encourage our journalism, but also to offset the travel expense for us to be here on the ground. So I let you on my full day, my full report. Check that out. No one is illegal on stolen land. No one is illegal on stolen land. Hello, hi. Can I ask you quickly what your signs mean?
Yes, absolutely. So, anyone could probably say that this current administration is very much likened to, 1930s to 1945 Third Reich mentality.
Acceptable kings. Carole King, the king of pop, the king of rock, King Crimson. It's just a pun. And the not acceptable kings, of course, would be a president, Donald Trump being a king.
I don't feel like a king. I have to go through hell to get stuff approved. A king would say, I'm not going to get this. A king would have never had the California mandate to even be talking to him. He wouldn't have to call up Mike Johnson and Thune and say, fellas, you got to pull this off, and after years we get it done. No, we're not a king. We're not a king at all. Thank you very much.
King except drag kings.
You know, it's just for everybody. You have two human beings on this planet. That's it. It's very simple. You have to respect humans and who they are.
What do you think of Donald Trump?
I don't think about him at all. There's nothing to think about somebody like him.
Well, if you are here today, it's because you think about him.
No, I'm here to support other people.
Okay.
I have a two-sided sign.
And the other side? Can I ask you to explain your signs and your message?
Well, all right. So I think the most important sign is the IC Gestapo, because they are acting just like ethnic cleansing from Germany in the 30s. And, these people in ICE have agency. They have agency in the sense that they don't have to do this. If they're together in this, they don't have to break the law or go against the Constitution and round up people of color, of other ethnic groups, just for ethnic cleansing, basically, is what this is.
I'm a Christian pastor, and I find that the way in which Christianity has been used by the Trump administration is appalling and deeply disturbing. They do things that Jesus would never do. Jesus cares for the poor. Jesus believes in the rule of law. And these kinds of things are being upended by the present administration.
Everybody has rights in this country, even if you're not national. So people have to really, we have to get together and wake up, and we have to keep on doing these demonstrations over and over.
My thing is, I don't care if people come here illegally or whatever. That's we have to reconcile as a nation with a huge history of violence and colonialism that has, and even American imperialism that has caused the destabilization of South Latin American communities that are being run with violence.
Can I ask you why you have the flag upside down?
Yeah, so it's a signal for distress because I think that our democracy is in trouble and being threatened by the Trump administration and everything that's come out of the White House thus far.
I mean, there's an orange fascist running this country now. It's got to go down.
And can you elaborate? What do you think about the mass deportation that Trump is putting in place, and ICE, and what is going on in America?
This is not America. This is not what we believe in. It's not what we stand for. It's got to end.
No, you here for the protest?
Yeah, I'm here to protest the lunatic, idiot morons that are hateful against this country. And I want to show them that there's still some people who love Trump, which I do.
What do you think about the mass? What is your true opinion about Donald Trump?
My true opinion about him is he's a malignant narcissist that will just do anything for money. And at this point, he's so bloated on power that it's getting dangerous. It's definitely into the, the Nazi level. But I also really don't think that he won the election. I think that Elon Musk messed with the tabulation computers. There's already proof. There's already statisticians and the Rockland law case where they want to have all these swing states recounted.
¡Viva México! ¡Viva México!
Do you speak English? Do you have a second? Yeah?
I'm from New York. I was born in Mexico, and I've been here for 30 years, okay? And I think it's really unfortunate that we have this kind of racism in the United States. And all the Hispanic people come here to have a better life. We want to work, we want to be better. I went to college here, and I finished college 2 years ago. My daughter is going to college. We're doing good. We're doing great. We come here to be better, and this is what we're doing.
LA has shown the way. Immigrants are here to stay. LA has shown the way. Immigrants are here to stay. LA has shown the way. Immigrants are here to stay. LA has shown the way. Immigrants are here to stay. LA has shown the way. Immigrants are here to stay.
What is the similarity of the Nazi that you are referencing?
Sure. I mean, like pogroms, basically. I mean, what's going on right now in LA? Finding people who are quote unquote illegal for what? I mean, they're selling tacos, or they're cleaning homes, or they're picking fruit out of fields, but they're getting deported. And the arm of ICE has become this kind of really brutal goon squad, like the SS or the SA, Gestapo sort of mentality. They're brutal, they're crude, they align themselves with him as opposed to keeping peace. That is total early sort of mounting processes that happened as Hitler was taking over in Germany at that time. I mean, really unleashing sort of the military to squash dissent, and protesters were peaceful. We're not trying to do anything that's harmful. We're speaking out against something that's really brutal and demeaning and dismantling, and he's using parts of his executive power to unleash violence against people, so that's very, I mean, I don't want to say it's similar. It is exactly like what happened during the Third Reich.
In this country, as soon as you set foot in this country, American citizen or illegal person, you have all the rights and protections of the United States Constitution. And due process is the government has to make their case why they want to deport you, and you have an opportunity to speak against that as to why you are not going to get deported or why you shouldn't be held incarcerated in any crime. He's sending people to El Salvador, a gulag. That's a prison from which you never come out unless you come out dead.
What do you think of the mass deportation policy?
One planet, all humans, that should not exist. It's just totally wrong. I'm an immigrant myself. So
rounding them up and shipping them out. You can't do that. You just can't. I mean, first of all, it's inhumane. That's the bottom line. And it's selective. They're doing this selectively to people of color, Hispanics.
So when people who identify as Christians stand for the things that he does, I cringe as a Christian because I feel as though it's disingenuous and it is not faithful to Jesus himself.
What is the next step to do to stop ICE?
To stop ICE, I think it takes a public uprising. I think that's the only thing left because the politicians are not going to do it on their own. They're going to actually need our help. Those of them who, want to see a change.
They're coming here for a reason, and it's because the United States government has destabilized those regions to such a degree by putting their forces within the borders of countries that they have no business being in.
I think with the ICE raids, and it's not even like people that are here undocumented, it's people that are documented that are being targeted, that have targets on their back, and they're like Americans, they have every right to be here as anybody else.
Why do you think we didn't see those massive protests when Obama did actually deport more immigrants? We talk about more than 3 million.
I see where you're going with this, and you need to understand that Obama addressed immigrants that had come into the country immediately.
Yeah, but it was Biden before.
Obama's immigration programs targeted people that had immediately arrived and were not going to be granted immunity, which is, in a way, I know that it's a big right talking point to talk about how Obama deported more people. Well, I'll say this. First of all, Trump's not done yet, okay? So his numbers may exceed that, for all we know.
We will send elite squads of ICE, Border Patrol, and federal law enforcement officers to hunt down, arrest, and deport every last illegal alien gang member until there is not a single one left in this country.
You come in, you put in a petition for asylum, and then what happens is you get a court date. You wait until the immigration court is going to hear about you. And then it's decided, does your asylum claim, is it valid or isn't it valid? Or do you have a bad history of crimes or whatever? And then it's decided, okay, you cannot stay in this country, you get deported. And that's the way it's supposed to be. Not like this.
If you're not here legally, you should be deported. You want to come here? Come legally. Don't jump the line, wait your turn, and when you come here, you have to be examined to make sure that you're not coming here with diseases which we no longer have, and you have to come here able to support yourself. Don't come here to go on welfare. If you follow all the rules, you're welcome. Come. We'll welcome you. But don't slither in like a rattlesnake and then come here and expect the government to support you and then commit crimes. What these other countries are doing is they're emptying out their prisons, their insane asylums, their hospitals for the incurably sick. They're sending us all the garbage from their country. This is not a garbage dump. This is the greatest country in the world. It's your garbage. Keep it. Don't send it here.
We know that when we have mass immigration, we also have bad people entering the country. We have criminals, we have people, rapists. And
No, that's BS. Are you serious? No. We don't have, it's like maybe 0.1% of people are seeking asylum in this country. And the reason why we became an asylum country is because back in the 30s, this country was not letting the Jews in from Germany that were being exterminated. So we changed it, and we have open doors, and we have compassion and sympathy for people who are being have their lives in danger in their countries, in Venezuela, in South America, in other places.
So by cracking down on people who came here legally, you can find the bad and the good.
Yes, in every single country in the world, there is bad people and good people, right? Doesn't matter bad people is not just one nationality. It's all over the world, I guess.
I have no problem with criminals being rounded up and being given their day in court and being prosecuted if they need to be. I've got no problem with that. But that's not what's happening. And maybe it's happening a little bit, but there's so many people who are disenfranchised, poor, don't have a lot of power and rights, who are being rounded up by this man. And he is saying he's a Christian. I don't get it. I don't see the connection. I don't judge his heart, but his behavior I do judge.
Some of us are going to be up front, the other ones are going to focus on bringing out the truth and the fact that Kamala Harris is really our president.
We know that most of the people here today, well, probably everybody, is against ICE and mass deportation.
100%. ICE should not even exist. I've been against ICE since ICE was formed. The mass deportations are false. No one is, no one could be deported on stolen land, okay? And so this is just all a big mask for racism and fear. And I'm against ICE, and I'm against deportation, and I'm for the community and unity. And I know that the American people, we have enough love and knowledge and unity to come together and oust this and stop this.
If you have Republicans in front of you that are supporting Donald Trump and all the policies, what will be your message to them?
Orange fascists, suck my dick.
What would you say to Republicans that are supporting Donald Trump and his policies?
Stop looking out for your own self-interest and stop bowing to the self-interest of others and stick up for what you know is right.
If I could say something to the Republicans, where do you think you come from? How do you think you got here? You weren't born here, maybe through generations, but you got here through the forced assimilation and violence and the persecution of black people and the indigenous people that were here before y'all. You know, so I think we can get so much closer to actual peace and true unity when Americans, when white Americans remember where they come from and start digging in their past, because their whole history is not here. They have history in other countries that's not here. So how dare they sit here and tell Mexicans that they can't be here when Mexicans were here first? They were here first. They are indigenous here. They were here before that border came along. And we have to own that. We have to recognize that and acknowledge that. And the hypocrisy of it all is disgusting.
Everything he said is untrue. There are not people. This is the same guy that said that immigrants were eating animals, and suddenly we don't hear about that anymore.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame.
What would you say to Republicans?
What would I say? I would say turn off Fox News, turn off right-wing media, find out what he is doing. But, you know, it's very hard to speak sense to a lot of these people. They need psychiatric help. There needs to be, you know, in order to bring these people back to reality, back to decency, they need some kind of help or intervention to get them out of the cult.
Do you have a message for Republicans who actually support mass deportation and believe that all illegals should be deported, whatever they are?
Well, we have seen with in the last decades, with the last few presidents, doesn't matter which side of which party they are, they've been deporting people. They haven't really fixed the immigration problem. It doesn't matter if it's the right or the left. Nobody has done anything.
What would you say to Trump supporter? To a Trump supporter? I know a lot of Trump supporters, and I'd say just check yourself, and you're on the wrong side of history if you're still a Trump supporter. And it's never too late to not be a Trump supporter, even if you voted for him. It's okay. You can say you were wrong. You can say what he's doing is wrong. You just need to have your principles and your values.
What did you think of the mass massive riots, looting, cars set ablaze. Do you think it helped the cause, or do you think it
Of
was?
course it hurts the cause. It always hurts the cause. Violence always hurts the cause. But it wasn't whole citywide. It was in a small little part, just like when we had riots here in New York on 8th Avenue. It wasn't all over the whole city. There was just parts. And hoodlums come out and they ruin a good thing. That happens unfortunately, that happens every riot. I wish we had zero violence. I would love to see that.
Do you believe that those riots that we saw happening last week was justified?
The riots
The riots, the riots that we saw in LA, New York, a little bit everywhere when we saw vandalism, cars set ablaze, and looting. Do you think it was justified in order to fight ICE?
No, I think that people get very upset when they see that injustice is being done in our country, and some people, they take it too far. It's like an emotional reaction, and they're angry and they feel helpless, so they sometimes they go to violence. But I think that's really just a minority. And if people see that really like more than half the nation like stands up and really goes onto the streets and protests on a consistent basis, then I think that'll make the change.
No, I don't think it was too much. I think that if people are criticizing the violence of the riots, then they're criticizing the wrong violence that's happening. I think violence is the violence that's happening against the American people right now, against people that are documented, undocumented, against Palestinians. There's a lot of violence happening, and I think we're talking about the wrong violence.
This is what democracy looks like, peaceful protests.
But we saw cars set ablaze, looting, vandalism. What about that?
I don't see any cars set ablaze here.
In LA, you saw the image coming from LA?
I can't answer for LA, I'm in New York.
Okay.
There were no riots. There were isolated incidents of burning Waymo cars. There were no riots by general people. It was all within a very limited few block federal district in downtown LA. So there weren't riots. There was no looting. There was nothing along that line except for isolated incidents, which you always get in sort of things like that. I've been marching in marches like this for 40 years since the Vietnam War, and you always get an isolated bunch of nuts at some point. But by and large, those protests were all peaceful.
The cops should have opened fire. Anyone with a Molotov cocktail should have been shot dead where he stands. Anybody and looters should be shot. You want to protest? Protest. You don't start burning. You don't start throwing Molotov cocktails. You don't start beating the crap out of cops. All right? You attack a cop, the cop should take out they don't have the nightsticks anymore. They should give them back the nightsticks, or preferably crowbars, and let them smack the shit out of the people. Right? Then they'll learn not to attack the police. And as far as people who destroy should be shot, never mind arrested. We don't have room in prisons to start locking them up and feeding them and housing them. If you're doing destruction, you're burning, shoot them. Shoot them dead.
How did you felt when we saw the riots happening in LA and the Mexican flag was flying on top of a car?
That's not who we are. I think like there's people who are not in pro-Mexico. They're like against Mexico. Those people who did that, they're not Mexican. We are the Mexicans. If you see Mexicans, that are going to be the guys on every single restaurant in New York City. They're cooks. They're dishwashers, working as waiters, doing the hard work for everybody here.
I mean, these are expressions of our discontent. I mean, these are material items, compared to what is happening to our democracy. I mean, do I care about cars? Do I really care about windows? Do I care about bank windows? I really actually don't at this current moment. So when people are unleashing their violence against sort of those symbols of capitalism and wealth, if that's what we feel is really important, then I mean I don't know what to say. But those items, those pieces, they will be brutalized. Those are symbols that we are really angry about. I mean, so what? We have a democracy to uphold. We have a democracy to sustain and to hold tight and to cherish. I mean, if we're cherishing bank windows and cars, screw it. I mean, I'm so sorry. Whoops. That's sort of how I feel about it.
I don't call that riots. We just show a few cars on fires, people getting out of control, but you know what? It was very peaceful. And so whatever the media is trying to tell us, I don't think it's true. People are peaceful. People that want to protest, like here today, they're just peaceful. And yes, there will be some fires and cars on fire, but this is a minority.
I think that those riots were very isolated. And I think calling in the military against our own people is like, I don't even think that that's constitutional. You can't call in the military to attack people on our own soil.
I don't consider them riots unless you consider ICE starting the riots. Okay, the only riots that were started was by ICE kidnapping people and human trafficking people. Okay, the people in LA were defending their community, and so it's not. We're not afraid. We're all coming out. We're coming out of the woodwork, especially big white ladies.
A great disservice by allowing Trump to become elected, because over in Germany, over in Europe, they understand fascism. They understand authoritarianism because they have lived it. There is still fresh in their memory Hitler and the generations that came after Hitler. They understand the signs, and they're fighting that fight against their dictatorships over there. But Americans, we don't understand fascism. We don't understand dictatorship because we've never lived through it, but we're about to.
Do America is going to a civil war?
Oh, I think we're in it now. This is how it starts. Very quiet. I think people have an idea that it's supposed to be this mass scale, two sides firing on other sides, but I think civil war starts with these small bursts, you know, and discontent, and restlessness, and resentment, you know. And I believe this is how we're in it. It's just not what we think it looks like because of the historical moment. You know, we think it. We picture what it looked like in 1776. Now, I wasn't there. It probably started with lots of little small skirmishes and violence like this, but I believe we're already in a civil war. Absolutely.
You know, there are days where I think that that's a possibility, okay? But, you know, you have to just go forward with what you think is right. And if that's the consequence of it, as much as we would not, this country's divided already. You know, so I mean, if you can't find a way to sit down and speak about your issues, to work them out, then, you know, we can't have this. We will not stand for this.
I mean, I certainly hope not.
Do you believe that maybe America is entering in a civil war?
No.
No.
I don't think so. I think this is maybe some powerful people would like that to happen, but I think American people are too smart for that. Mm-hmm. No reason to.
We shouldn't go to war. We should go to work. We should work for our freedom of speech. We should work for our freedom. That's what we should work for. And not revolution. The best revolution is education.
I mean, I think we're already in a civil war. I think it's clear that that's what's happening right now. Mm-hmm. That's what the ICE raids are.
Do you believe that you're entering slowly in a civil war?
I think that's exaggerating a bit. A civil war, no, but I'm hoping it'll be more like the civil rights era.
I would hope not, but I think that if things aren't progressing in like a positive way, it could lead there. Especially with everything we're seeing, like foreign affairs included too. I think. I think war can sometimes be inevitable. Mm-hmm. It would be unfortunate.
Civil war, no. Because before that happens, I hope they would bring out the military to stop this nonsense. With Trump, I'm not worried. With another president, I would be.
You talked about, you know, the trans rights and LGBTQ rights, but do you believe by bringing lots of immigrants without due process, that can bring people, example, some places in the Middle East who do not share those values, who do reject that, and also who are creating violence over this community?
So I don't think that we can, I love Jesus. And, it's better for us to point out to pull out the log in our eye than it is for us to point out the splinter in someone else's. We can sit here and we can talk about the violence of other countries all day long, but until we reconcile with our own history of violence, with the way that white Americans have imposed violence on marginalized communities, I'm not concerned. I care for Gaza. And I fight for the liberation of the Palestinian people from, occupation and apartheid. But I also recognize that here in the United States, we are living on occupied land. That
Is it not something that concerns you that LGBTQ community will not actually be able to be themselves, or they are being killed in Gaza?
That's all over the world. That's everywhere. That's everywhere. Now, I've never left the United States, and I do understand that when I do finally travel abroad, that I have to be mindful of the countries that I go into. Like, you're not going to catch me going into, to Ghana, where it is criminalized to be a homosexual. It's not just Palestine, it's everywhere. This ignorance towards our community exists all over the world.
Do you think the situation would be way different here in America if Donald Trump wasn't missed when he got shot? And do you regret it wasn't missed?
I don't want anybody to be, on my darkest days, when I'm having a bad day, I sometimes say, Jesus, I wish he would have been harmed and hurt and killed or whatever. But really, I don't think that's even the answer either. I think that's just one little tiny piece that has, exacerbated or escalated what's already current and whatever is brewing. I think that was just... That attempt was just one little thing. Do you know what I mean? It just to trigger other stuff, but I don't think it would have changed anything.
Take a look at what happened.
We can all hope, can't we? Yes. I think this country, maybe there would be some radical people, but he is definitely the person who is the head of that cult, the MAGA cult. They're not thinking. All they do is repeat the sound bites that the right-wing media tells them. You can't even discuss things with them because their ability doesn't go beyond what they hear on television.
The problem that we're having now is, even if Donald Trump is not in office, is that the 38% of Republicans that would still support him is a cult. This is a brainwashed cult that we are dealing with. And, they need an intervention. Okay, and if there's nothing else, I think the only thing that Trump has been successful at in this whole past 10 years is that he's been the most successful cult leader on the planet ever.
The problem with wishing harm to Donald Trump is the fact that you would get J.D. Vance as president, at least now. During the time that they were running, that was something else. But now you don't want to impeach Trump because you would get J.D. Vance. Donald Trump is in this for his own self-interest, for his power and his greed. J.D. Vance actually has a political agenda, whereas Trump really doesn't have one. He's much more self-interest. J.D. Vance actually has a stated political agenda that is even farther right-wing than what we're seeing at the moment.
I don't think anyone shot Donald Trump. That was a big reality TV show moment.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. What do you think happened? Do you think it was...
I think he paid to have the whole thing set up. He's a producer. That was clearly, we haven't heard anything about the guy that shot him. The ear is still there. It's just all the evidence is there, and the man, it comes from reality television. That's all that was.
But for the man that died,
for the man who died when Donald Trump was shot, I don't think that Donald Trump cares about any human lives. So I think anyone is disposable in his search for power. That's what a tyrant is, textbook definition. So.
Honestly, I don't believe that Donald Trump actually got shot. I think that was a ploy. I think if someone was going to hit their mark, they would have hit their mark. There's no, I think that was Donald Trump's way of garnishing sympathy from people. And I guess maybe it worked, but I think the deeper issue here is how racism and misogyny played a role in this election.
I don't think that has like absolute consequences. I think that's just like another cog in the machine to make him like more popular and stuff. But there's been like surprisingly little talk about that assassination. So I'm thinking that it was like really bogus. It wasn't like what they wanted the assassin to be, like a total left-wing nut.
Yeah.
But he was like, he had other problems as far as I know.
It's not cheap to travel here in New York City, and we don't receive a dime from the liberal government. So if you want to help us to offset our travel expenses, please go over riotreports.com, chip in a couple of bucks, make sure that we can continue to cover the other side of the story across the planet. Thanks in advance.